Hey, what's cracking, fantasy owners? Just had some information I need to relay to you. I'm also going to talk some smack in this rendition. First things first, we do have a new owner in the league. Kalen is going to take over for Scott. I tried to get in touch with Scott multiple times. He hasn't returned any of my calls or my emails. So basically, I just kicked his ass out of the league. I think Kalen will be a good owner. I'm sure he'll always have his lineup set, unlike Scott always did. And I don't think he'll draft Matt Hasselbeck, number 6 overall in round 1. And I also believe he will pay on time, which will be a nice little change. Keeping that in mind, his team name, if you haven't noticed, is the Dog Pound. I guess it's because he is a Browns fan. Not really original. What a pussy. Also, the vote went down as to what happens if you keep a player in 2 players in the same round. As you know, Tanker had Adrian Peterson and Steve Slayton. Adrian Peterson was a round 4 pick from the year before, so he'd move up to round 3. Steve Slayton was a free agent, so he would be a 3rd round pick as well. So those 2 guys would both be in the 3rd round. And as the vote went down, majority ruled in favor of bumping up the highest rated player. So that would push Adrian Peterson to round 2, Steve Slayton round 3. So Tanker, if you're keeping those 2, and I know I already talked to you, that's what would happen. I had an owner pose an interesting question to me as well. He suggested that anyone you pick up on the waiver wire, that you will not be able to keep them. Makes a little bit of sense to me. If you draft a guy or you trade for a guy that's been drafted, that person you could obviously still keep, but anyone that gets picked up on waivers, you would not be allowed to keep. Now it's time for the fun part. I'm going to talk a little bit of smack about some of your keepers. Now, as a lot of you have noticed, Grubb, I haven't officially heard who you're keeping. Frank told me you're going to keep Aaron Rodgers. And Americans, I haven't heard anything from you as well. Who knows? Maybe you guys aren't going to keep anybody. Let's start with talking some smack now. The best keepers, Alex, Jennings, and Turner, I think are the 2 best. I think you set yourself up nicely to do very well this year. I think Jennings was round 7, Turner around 4, something like that. I think you set yourself up to do very well this year if you don't blow it in the draft. Another bad thing, for whatever reason, your teams do always seem to fall apart as the year goes on. Who knows? Maybe you can turn it all around this year. Kalen has Chris Johnson, who I think is the best overall keeper in the league this year. It's around 10, I believe, or 9 or 11, something like that, something ridiculous. So that could set him up very well for the future. I don't know what his drafting skills are like, but I guess I'll find out soon. And finally, the Stone Crusher has Smith and Forte round 6 and 7. Those 2 guys, second-year running backs. Stone Crusher could have built himself a nice little dynasty there for years to come. Definitely someone to watch out for. All right, now let's get to the bad, the worst. Sorry to say this, Americans, but Mike, there's really nothing there on your roster. You have Ronnie Brown, who I think could be a decent little keeper there. I don't know, what do you have him in round 6 or round 5? You know, not sexy, nothing spectacular. Who knows? A couple of teams now that I'm just on. I mean, they're good players, but you know, as far as keepers go, they're nothing spectacular. Hanky, I hate to say it, going with you and Larry Fitzgerald in round 1. Now, while I do think Larry Fitzgerald is a great player, I think keeping him in round 1, when you could probably draft him in round 1, you know, might set you a little bit behind the 8 ball. I think there's some good running backs in there that you're passing up you'd be able to draft, like maybe a LaDainian Tomlinson, someone like that. I don't know. I think you're kind of setting yourself up for failure there down the line. And Tyler, Brandon Jacobs. I know we've gone round and round about this. I'm not a big fan. Round 5, he does give you good value. And Randy Moss in round 2. There's really not value there, I don't think. I do think he's a great receiver and he'll put up a lot of numbers. Keeping him in round 2, and you could probably draft him in round 2. To me, what if someone were to fall? What if you could get a Brian Westbrook or a Steve Slayton or someone of that caliber falls down? I just think there's other players there that you could possibly draft him by keeping a guy in round 2. When you could draft him in round 2, you're losing the opportunity to draft someone else if you were to drop. But that's just my opinion. But who knows? Maybe those guys will have fantasy stud-like years, and you'll actually live up to your fantasy name, which is the Guru. With that, the Diesel's out. I hope you guys are excited for the draft as I am. I'm really looking forward to it. I've been doing all my research. My fantasy board is updated and uploaded on my computer. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to rock and roll. So get your keepers in. You can get everything set up and ready to roll. With that, the diesel's out. Peace.